Chyna, have you seen this Vice Versa presents Chyna on Vice?
Wow.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that was something else. That was what was your experience watching this? What did you think?
It buried, and when I say buried, like it covered up, it buried a lot of people. I'm going to
Okay.
say I've lost, I gained a little respect for, see, I don't even know his name anymore.
Who?
Mr. Attitude Era, fucking bearded prick that nobody likes. Oh,
X-Pac?
one. Oh, I hate him now.
Oh, Vince Russo.
There it is, Vince Russo. My apologies. I have to edit that one out. It gave me a little bit more, a little love, a little love for Vince
Little
Russo.
love for Vince Russo.
Because Vince Russo didn't, and I'll explain to you why, but we'll get into it. I really, honestly, am not a fan right now of the WWE. I think it made them look horrible, made the whole wrestling business, I think, for the most part, look like a piece of shit.
Well, I kind of knew a lot of the information that they were going to go into when this started. I knew that, Triple H and Chyna had a relationship. Once Chyna left, suddenly Chyna didn't exist in the WWE. It was never mentioned again. And then when the issue of putting her into the Hall of Fame got brought up, the response was, well, she's been in porn and we can't have that kind of stuff. But plenty of people in the WWE Hall of Fame, most notably Sunny, have been in porn, and people will go, oh, no, she did it afterwards. No, that's not true. She did do porn before she was in the WWE Hall of Fame. There are plenty of people who have these pasts that'll bring up this kind of stuff, just as bad as Chyna, and the WWE has stuck to that. I knew about Chyna's drug use. I knew about her being on reality shows, and
I knew everything that they showed. I even know more than what they showed.
Sure.
But my thing was the way it was shown. I think was.
But so here's the other thing, though. I knew all that going into it, but I will say that's what I expected in this documentary. That was my expectation. I got about 10 minutes into it and I realized this is a different documentary. Then I realized, because I knew there was a documentary on Chyna that included her body being found when she died. And I knew that there were people pushing against that documentary being released. And about 10 minutes in, it's like, oh, that's what this is. Vice. They didn't, this documentary popped out of nowhere and it was like kind of a bit of a dark side of the ring, kind of whatever. So you go, okay, well, they're doing that. And then next thing you know, they start splicing in these scenes, and these directors who were, they featured the people who were producing and directing, and her manager, who is a piece of shit, by the way. I'm going to start off by saying that. And you start piecing this together. I did, because I was aware of the other documentary. I go, oh, this is not what I signed up for, but I kept watching. And they did an interesting piece of magic, not magic, but an interesting piece of a calculated move, is that they started, by the time you realized that that was the documentary you were watching, they were already depicting the people filming it in a negative light. They were making them look like garbage. And that signaled to me, by the time I realized what I was watching, that it wasn't them releasing this documentary, that they wouldn't make themselves look bad. Somebody else had gotten a hold of this documentary, Vice, obviously, and they were controlling the narrative and making sure that you realize the people who were exploiting Chyna at the end of her life looked like shit. And that was what I took out of this, is these people are pieces of shit.
Okay, now you and I are on that same page. I totally forgot about the documentary about her, about them finding her, and then documenting the body. And I totally forgot about that right until the end. Yeah. When they were like, hey, we found her body, because the wife had no idea what. So when I sat down and watched it, I watched it with the wife who knew Chyna, didn't know Chyna, but knew Chyna. And then when she watched it, her hatred for the WWE is through the roof.
Okay.
So it depicted that Triple H is a dick, which now everything I thought of Triple H being somewhat okay, he's a dick. Stephanie's a slut. Vince Russo tried to save Chyna at the beginning. Like, you know what I mean? When you see some of those interviews, and I follow Vince Russo a little bit. I haven't seen those interviews before. The guys who filmed that, the little fucking fanboys, they should all be brought up on charges and just shot.
Well, I've got their names if you want to talk about them one
by
one.
We don't need to bring up their names.
I would like to talk about them one by one. So
all right, let's talk about them one by one, first and last name, and let's rip them apart. And if you can give me a quick description so I can know which one it is.
So Eric Angra, he kind of had Who's
the bearded guy?
He was a bearded guy, but not the bald bearded guy. And he was kind of the guy that was conducting the interview. He would say, I was talking to Chyna, and I could hear in my own voice that I was high and that I was fucked up. I think this guy's, he's a piece of shit, but at least he's decent enough to realize it. He kind of, when you're hearing him in these interviews, Eric Angra, he's not proud of what was going on and perhaps didn't even really realize what was going to be happening, right?
Yeah, no, but he's still a piece of shit. And
he is, yeah, absolutely. He's a sleazy guy, but he's at least self-aware enough to know that he's a sleazy guy. He did this interview, they clearly did post documentary interviews with these people, and he's like, yeah, it seems like he's not proud of himself. So that's not a great person. We're not going to defend him in any way. He's a sleazy person. The next guy is Rob. Oh, okay, one second. So the next guy is Rob Potylo, Potylo. This is kind of a weird looking guy. I thought he had a beard and a shaved head. I thought this guy seemed like a decent enough guy. He seemed like he didn't really know what he was signing up for, and was very friendly in the beginning of the documentary. And when you interviewed him, he kind of was the first to crucify the other two guys who were involved in this, and he seems like he was actually, and I've looked a little bit into it, he looks like he was actually genuinely friends with Chyna too.
Yes. Well, he was the one that wanted to make the resurrection, right? Like he wanted to. That's what he thought he was doing, was bringing Chyna, was going to bring her back to the WWE, get her back in like a WrestleMania, release his documentary, and make millions like that. And to me, that made sense. He wasn't that bad.
And now that brings me to the sleaziest one, was her manager. This is Anthony Anzaldo.
Whoever. Anthony
Anzaldo. This guy, there isn't a scene that this guy did that, they're on the phone with Dr. Drew Pinsky, but before they do it, they're saying, like, they're going over, they're taking stock in what drugs Chyna is doing, and he's like, let's not mention that to him because it could incriminate him in some way. So and then you realize how the fucking documentary ends. You almost fucking wonder if he maybe wanted something terrible to happen to her. But anyway, he's enabling her and saying, don't mention it. It's fucking bad. It's fucking bad. And then at the end, he takes a camera. It sounds like everybody in the documentary knew we couldn't get a hold of Chyna, and they already knew the answer to the question that was on their mind. And he's like, let's make sure to bring a fucking camera for this. And I can't even.
Here's the problem, is that everybody, the three guys you just mentioned, all knew they were all fucking douchebags when they did it. They all wanted to do it for money. Looking back at it now, when they got their hand caught, and now they look like pieces of shit, they're all trying to backpedal.
Yeah.
They're all trying to backpedal and say, oh, I did this, I did that. The last guy's such a cunt. Yeah. I ever see that guy. If I even hear, like, there's a Comic-Con in Toronto and this guy's going to be there because now he's trying to run on this fame, I am going there and I'm going to autograph him.
Yeah.
Well, like, he's how he's not in prison.
Yeah.
Mind boggles me. He's admitted drug use on TV. You have documents of him getting drugs for her, doing all this. How is that not it? And then what really bugged me about it was that they went into Dr. Drew, but they didn't go into the celebrity rehab stuff where it all went downhill with X-Pac and he showed up and it was a big shit show and all these guys knew about it. Like, they brought nothing up. The thing that took me away from this was that this is a useless waste of life. It could have been caught. Everybody knew about it. Nobody wanted to do anything about it.
And that's even like the part that everybody is going to remember is that this guy wanted to film the discovery of Chyna's body. That's what everybody's going to remember.
He did, and I guarantee there is a video of her body.
There is. And why it would exist, like was said on the documentary, is why would you even want that? But with that said, that's what everybody's going to remember. But the part that resonated with me the most, and I just mentioned it, is she's sitting there saying, like, I got to get this fixed. I got to get help. She knows she's got a problem. She's talking to Dr. Drew Pinsky, who is, you know, a rehab doctor, trying to get her, like, whatever. And this guy's fucking sitting next to her saying, don't mention these. He doesn't need to know about this. These ones are, you don't need to, there's nothing illegal about this. So we're not even going to let him know about it because it could incriminate him somehow. Why the fuck would it incriminate him somehow? Just let him fucking know. Just disclose. Like, the guy is such a piece of shit. So I couldn't even fucking, like, that, the fact that he filmed that, he fucking filmed him doing that. And that is, you know, that discovering the body is terrible and sleazy, but enabling her in that, like, that's not even enabling her. She's saying, I don't want to do this. And he's going, well, we can do it this way. So you won't even get caught doing it. And fucking, she's even trying to get clean. And he's almost pushing these pills down her fucking throat on fucking camera. And he recorded it.
Adam, and that's an addict's mentality, is that you got to keep the hook in. Like, that to me is a pusher. And that's exactly what it is that he just basically was a piece of shit and he just wanted to keep her in. And he just said, don't tell him about this one. Why? Because if you told him that you had an abuse of opioids, he could prescribe you this and your life probably get a lot better faster, but we won't tell him about this and we won't tell him about that. And then when she dies and they say she had muscle relaxers, painkillers, booze, this, and this, and you go, oh, everything you just fucking mentioned fucking 10 minutes ago in the documentary, that's what she had in her system? But yet nobody thought it was a big thing to go up to the guy and go, come here, we need to talk. We need to have a little conversation about the death of her. That to me is a murder. You can physically see it on, don't tell them about this, or this, just go. And then the night before, 2 nights before, when that last documentary is, when the last thing is filmed in that condo, I need help. Help me. I know it's not going good. And they're filming. Dude, put the fucking camera down.
Yeah, help her. Treat her like a person. And
but then the rest of the other guys, like X-Pac and you know, and Triple H and all these guys in the WWE, they're all just to blame. You
think so? Why do you think X-Pac and these people?
Because they see X-Pac got her into it.
Well, okay, but that's a lot different. Is they were young and they were partying and she got into drugs and so did he, you know?
Yeah, but like what they didn't cover, and I remember this, and I want to say it was this Surreal House or Celebrity Rehab or something like that.
Surreal House, I think.
But Dr. Drew was involved. So so when Dr. Drew was involved with that Celebrity House, X-Pac showed up fucked up out of his mind and said, I want to get back to you. I don't know how long her and Dr. Drew were together because the documentary didn't say. So I'm assuming her and X-Pac were fresh breaking up within 6 months. So, I mean, you know that's happening. Then she walks into the WWE and they just tell her to kind of go away. Nobody's available for you.
I don't think that X-Pac did anything wrong. He got drunk and told his girlfriend he loves her and wants to get back with her. I mean, it's a sleazy thing to put on reality TV show, but it's not that he's a bad person. You know, he didn't get her hooked on drugs. It even sounds like he was hiding. He says at one point, I was hiding my drug use. She was hiding her drug use.
Yeah. But I mean, everybody, those last guys, the 3 guys that made the documentary, pieces of shit. And I would imagine because it just came out, Thursday?
Yeah. No, yeah, Thursday, yeah.
Thursday. I'm assuming next week there's going to be an investigation made against it, and they'll rip it apart. Probably already is one going right now.
Would be great to see some of these people.
Dude, it just yet again, it's one of those things where now we should be looking at other wrestlers, but also look at it from a standpoint of some of the things that you've seen in that video. That we know people that are probably going through the same thing.
Sure, yeah.
Which is horrible. And when you reach out and you offer somebody to something, they have to take it. Sometimes they won't take it, and you can't hold yourself against it. But it's like,
and that's what's so fucking heartbreaking about this is there's so many addicts that don't want the help, she wanted the help. It's just the people around her were pieces of shit that wanted to exploit her, that were saying like, don't let him know this. And she's talking to a doctor trying to get clean. Don't let him know this so you can keep.
Well, controversy creates cash. I mean, it's an old saying, and it's a saying by somebody in the wrestling business, but it's true.
Yeah. And then after they cremated Chyna, her mother says, get rid of a third of the ashes here and mail the rest to me. And he took like half of them for himself. And then he's got this bedazzled urn. And like, there was like this ceremony. Did he sell tickets to that? Is he trying
I believe he did, because then he grabs it and says, well, the bitch is here. And then and I'm like, dude,
yeah,
you literally took who I consider one of the best female wrestlers of all time, and you've destroyed her. Yeah, we should destroy you.
Well, Chyna was this iconic character in the WWE universe, and the
ninth wonder of the world.
Yeah, and he wanted to make some money off of her, and even after she's passed away, he's still trying to make money off of her. And that the one thing that I took from this is that Anthony Anzaldo is a piece of shit. That's it.
He's probably one of the worst in the world. I'm going to say that right now.
Yeah. And this guy's a manager, so he might be managing other people, and managing is just manipulating them. From what I can see in his way of managing is just manipulating them to get more money out of them.
That's one of the first documentaries I watched. I watched it at like 11 o'clock in the morning. I think I messaged you when I watched it. And fucking like, I was literally in tears by the end of it. And like, it was just hard to watch. Like, somebody that we loved. Like, we always loved Chyna. Like, you and I have always been fans of Chyna. I was always respectful. I always loved her. I think she got a bad shaft in the WWE. But I think that also you wanted to see her succeed. And she didn't have an average. Like, literally, she went to Japan, as it showed, and literally fought men, and the men were impressed that she was still getting up.
Yeah, she fought Chono, which was I didn't know that. I didn't know she wrestled for Japan. I when I was watching that, I was like, oh wow, I didn't know she had a run in Japan, which is really cool.
And then she's broke because of other things, and I hope that the money that Vice makes off of this, I hope it goes to her family. Like, you don't need to be making more money off of it. Like, make what you make off of it, but also give a cut to Chyna's family.